Welcome back to the MNstash, the only channel on YouTube where Zeb Wells is our own real Mephisto. Today we're going over what I believe are the core issues with this current Amazing Spider-Man volume, but before we get into that, we are trying to hit 500 subscribers by the end of the month, so be sure to subscribe to the channel and don't let the Green Goblin win. Alright, that's enough self-promotion, time to get into the video. Picture the scene. After over a decade of some of the worst storytelling in comic history being produced from mostly one person being Dan Slott, finally comes to an end. As a longtime Spidey fan, you're naturally puzzled with what direction they're going to go with next. You see that the new writer is Nick Spencer, who has a bit of a mixed reception within the comic fanbase. Issue 1 comes around and suddenly there's a massive sense of relief. Spider-Man seems to be himself again and acting more like an adult rather than a man-child. As the series goes on, there's a lot of pros and, believe me, a lot of cons, but overall it's still 1,000 times better than what came before it. The horrible story of sins past gets retconned, and best of all, Peter and Mary Jane are finally back together with what looks like a very promising future. The Spidey books feel like they're on the up and up, and then bang, Nick Spencer has left the Spider-Man book, and then enter Zeb Wells. Yet another reboot of ASM and yet another step backwards for the character of Peter Parker. Everyone seems to have a strong dislike towards him, and worst of all, we have no idea why, as it's set 6 months later. Marvel also milked this "what did Peter do" thing for over a year. Aunt May looks tired of his excuses, Mary Jane tells him to stop calling her, Peter has become a weird stalker, then the big reveal of the most hated face in the Mary Jane and Spider-Man fandom is none other than Paul, accompanied by their own children. Right off the bat, I think you can see why this run is so hated. Issue 1 just undid so much character development by Nick Spencer and all his hard work making Peter a mature adult again, as well as rebuild his and MJ's relationship, all for it to be thrown down the drain without an explanation. Another major factor to the problem of this run is how Zeb Wells actually writes the characters. Nearly everyone in this book has had a character assassination. From Peter becoming considerably weak and stupid, with a prime example being how he stole from the Baxter building without explaining to Reed and the gang what he needed. In fact, if he actually just stopped and talked like he normally would instead of just trying to fight everyone, maybe he would have saved Mary Jane faster, but I'm getting ahead of myself. He even tried to knock out Captain America because, again, he doesn't explain anything to anyone. Next would be the Fantastic Four. During their short time in the book, Wells wasted no time making Johnny and Ben super unlikable, rushing in, just like Peter, into a fight. Johnny Storm at some points was somehow even more dense and hot-headed than Peter. The FF and Spider-Man are supposed to be family, and as much shit as I give the Brand New Day stories, and Dan Slott especially, at least he understood how close they were and how much love they shared for one another. Now the biggest character assassination has to go to Mary Jane Watson. From trying to fully cut Peter off to becoming Jackpot, hell, even the whole relationship with Paul is wrong. This is literally just that stupid Batman Wonder Woman story Tom King wrote a couple of years ago, but in reverse. You take the worst possible pairing imaginable and make it the main canon couple. It's sad that since Mary Jane is too popular to get rid of, they just go with the next best thing and ruin her character every chance they get. I mean, if you've read issue 25 of this current Spider-Man run, then you know majority of that book was just them calling Mary Jane the Scarlet Woman, and if you know what that means, well, let's just say it says a lot about how they actually view Mary Jane Watson as a character. Hell, the only reason she's with Paul was because of those kids, and since they were revealed to literally be a plot device and magically disappeared, she has no reason to even be with him. But I digress. Even Black Cat was written pretty horribly in the book, and was just there to fill up dead air during issues until they decided to break up Spider and Cat for the 100th time. I mean, seriously, what was the point? If you're gonna be so hell-bent on keeping Mary Jane and Paul together, why in the very least can't we just have Spider and Cat be together? All it was just a massive waste of time for the characters, but especially for us, the readers. One thing that baffles me in this run is Peter and Norman Osborn's friendship. We're talking about Norman Osborn here. You know, the guy who abused his son, sent into a spiraling drug addiction, which eventually led him to taking on the Green Goblin mantle and then died. Also, don't forget how he's an evil businessman, and that one time when he bought the Daily Bugle just so he can turn the entire city into a Spider-Man hate parade, which got so bad Peter had to come up with multiple identities, and Jameson was so distraught at what his paper had become that he was going to kill Norman. Oh, we can't forget how Norman was basically behind the entire clone saga just for shits and giggles, making you live through an extremely traumatic and stressful time since you never really knew who was the real Peter Parker and who was the clone, and then when you finally found out that you were the real Spider-Man, he killed Ben Reilly, who you'd form a brotherly bond with. Also, around that time, you got someone to slip something into Mary Jane's order at a cafe or something when she was pregnant, which resulted in your baby being a stillborn. And we can't forget how he tricked you into thinking Aunt May died, when in reality he replaced her with an actress, so all those heart-to-heart moments you had leading up to her death, which included her revealing she knows your Spider-Man, means nothing now. Oh, and, pretty small thing Norman did once, not that big of a deal to be honest. Remember that time he killed Gwen Stacy? Your first true love, the woman you originally were gonna marry? Oh, so his sins are cleansed or whatever the hell that means now, so it makes it alright? Now you're best friends and you work for him? Jesus, how did Wells think this was a good idea? I didn't even mention all the horrible things he's done. That was just off the top of my head. Okay, last factor for the video before my head explodes. Another crucial reason to why this Spider-Man volume simply sucks is because of how incredibly weak they made Peter. It's beyond a joke at this point in time. Like, Tombstone beat the shit out of him, making Spider-Man beg for mercy. The Vulture almost beats him to death, with the fight ending with Norman intervening last minute to save the day. Peter also lost a battle to Doc Ock within 2 to 3 pages without landing a single hit. And Mary Jane had to save him from a fight against Aunt Anna. Are you actually serious? We've gone from Spider-Man being able to hold up the entire Daily Bugle building minus one support beam, being able to knock goddamn Firelord unconscious through sheer strength, as well as many incredible feats, even though the Firelord one alone should be enough on its own, to now struggling to beat up an old lady. I think you can see the problem here. Overall, there's way too many factors to why this current run of Spider-Man is the worst we've ever had to fit into one video, unless it was like an hour long. But I hope this video still gave you some insight as to why us fans are sick and tired of Zeb Wells. Whether it's Spider-Man being unable to win any fight, or the friendship of Norman and Pete, to even all the horrible character assassinations, it's clear and evident that it's way beyond a joke and change needs to happen fast. But that is it for today. If you ever enjoyed, please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, because any support means so much. I'd love to hear what you guys think of the current Zeb Wells run, if you agree with me or not. We can start a conversation down below. And be sure to tune in next time for more Spider-Man related content, same web time, same web channel. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one.